Next up, making sure everything's here. Yes, in the list, is Dr. Ghada Abou El Hassan El Sayed Ahmed. I hope I've pronounced it all right. An instructor at the American University in Cairo, I believe, with 27 years experience in ELT, and past president of Nile TESOL, as well as an instructor with us at Notting Hill College and the American University. Quite the resume.
Yes.
So I'll just make sure I've got everything up and running, because yes, make sure. Shall get rid of that one, and we shall do. Just make sure all the buttons in the right order. Do that one.
Please do, because you are the techie.
I am the techie one, so I have pressed all the appropriate buttons. So, Dr. Ghada, the floor is yours.
So, hello, Paul. Hello, Kurt.
Hello.
Hello, everybody here. It's a great pleasure to be here once again at the Notting Hill Innovation and Education Conference, and among this group of amazing educators. Let me share my screen. Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. So today we're going to talk a little bit about the new teaching realities. And let me start first by asking this question to everybody. Please start writing in the chat box. Why do you think education is important? So why is education important? Character development, shaping the future. Okay, what else? What else? Come on. I thought it was really important. Yeah, measures how the community, progresses, empowers, the key to life, builds civilizations. Interesting. Very interesting. Okay, to become more human. Self-improvement, education is behavior. Very interesting. Keep going. Creativity, yes, strengthens the relationship. Upgrading, okay, to have an impact. It's the base for civilization, motivation. Very interesting. So I believed education was important as well. To have a good career, yes, yeah. Important for our future, certainly. So, well, it seems that we all agree education is really important. Well, yeah, I think you already said most of the points. Here are some. It seems to be essential for global growth, to help us be more adaptable in life, promote our skills, lowers the risk of poverty, increases job opportunities, plays a big role in the business world. Education as well is essential for better healthcare services, lowers the crime rates in society, helps us tackle terrorism because it fosters tolerance and understanding, encourages creativity, and plays a great role in women empowerment, and a lot more. You really said a lot. So it's something that we all agree upon. Education is really, really important, an essential thing in our life. This is where we're going to start thinking together that we live in a rapidly changing world. And it seems that those who do have the skills that are required to deal with this kind of changing world, with all the demands of the economy and the business, are the ones who are going to survive. So it is our duty as educators, as teachers, to prepare our students to live and flourish in this kind of environment. It is our job to prepare generations of students, of learners, who are equipped with the necessary skills for real-world survival. We are probably the ones who are going to make sure that they have the necessary communication, thinking, personal, research skills, interpersonal skills, organizational, business management, and computer skills. Well, if we happen to be in such a kind of world, then this is a point that we should stop at. The world is really changing. It is not only the knowledge that is necessary for our students to survive. We need to think deeper and understand that we can no longer be the teachers that we had when we were students. If we are looking forward to creating generations of lifelong learners, then we need to teach in a different way. Today, we're going to look at some new realities in the teaching world. We're going to look at them from 3 different areas, because we don't have the time to look at all the perspectives, but we're going to look and focus on classroom management, teaching and lesson planning, and assessment, and think together, what are the new realities and how can we change in order to cope with that? So we all agree it's time for change. So let's look, for example, at classroom management. And when I started teaching, that was a very, very long time ago, classroom management was all about disciplining the students and was only focusing on reward and punishment through a set of rules that were created by the teacher. You came in the first day of school and found like a big board hanging somewhere in the classroom with class rules. The teacher came in the classroom and started to make sure that everyone in the classroom knows the rules and is going to comply. You have to sit properly, you have to listen, you have to keep your hands and feet for yourselves, you have to respect others. Sometimes even the expectations were very vague. Now we know better. We know that classroom management starts with understanding the needs and the different natures of our learners and celebrating the fact that every one of them is a unique human being with unique ways of thinking, needs, and interests. And in order to cope with that, we need to prepare our classroom management in different ways. We always try to make sure that our students are safe. It is like our main priority. Students should be safe inside the classroom. But what about online? The new reality is that we deal with our students not only inside the classroom, but we also deal with them online. We cannot just talk about bullying inside the classroom and on the school premises inside the school. We have another fact that is in this world. These are students who belong to a generation that is connected all the time, connected online through social media apps and platforms. They are exposed to new forms of unsafety online, like cyberbullying, like internet safety issues. Are we preparing them for that? Our classroom management should a little bit extend outside of the classroom. So we don't only now teach them how to stop bullying inside the school or inside the classroom. We respect them and we teach them how to behave in ways that will prevent different kinds of bullying online and that will protect them. So we need to prepare them for that. We teach now students who are always online, who have a lot of distractors, who come to the classroom with zero patience, with a very little attention span. That's the new reality. They are used to watching everything in small doses through like YouTube, through TikTok, and through the different applications that they are using. All the information that they get is introduced to them in mini doses. So what are we going to do about that? If we want to maintain their attention for long times, if we want them to look and listen to us, at us inside the classroom, what should we do? In order to keep this attention, we need to make sure that they are busy all the time. We need to make sure that they are engaged all the time. We need to make sure that they are connected to us and that they are connecting together. that they are collaborating, that they are doing something that is interesting all the time. This is the only way that we are going to get their attention and make sure that there is no discipline, rather than just setting the rules and asking them to sit down. Now, social media and the internet provides this generation with something very interesting. It provides them with appreciation, likes. They get their self-esteem and their self-confidence from all the time looking at the bar, where they can see the likes and the hearts and the different kinds of reactions and comments. This is how it goes. That's kind of a new reality, whether we agree with it or not. But we have to understand that if we do not, as teachers, appreciate the progress, appreciate their creativity, provide them with all the opportunities of understanding that we understand, of that we like or accept, or know that they are learning and exerting effort, they are not going to be interested in being with us in the classroom and in exerting more effort. So in order to motivate them, we need to always appreciate whatever progress they are making, even if it is little. We need to give them voice and hold them accountable. These are students who want to be heard. So are we giving them voice? Are we giving them choices? Are we, for example, discussing our classroom rules collaboratively with them? Now, I think this is the very first thing that we should do for classroom management. Make sure that at the beginning of the year, when we set our classroom rules, we don't just stick this chart on the wall and ask them to look at it and pay attention to all the rules, but in fact, collaboratively discuss with them, ask them, what do you think are the rules that we need in our classroom to make sure that we learn and have fun? And then throughout this discussion, we can elicit the rules that they believe are necessary. But it's also important, as we discuss these rules and as we make sure that they agree and accept every single rule, that they also know what are their responsibilities, what are their duties, and how are they going to be rewarded. So if I follow the rules, what are my rewards going to be? And if I don't follow the rules, what are the consequences going to be? I like to use the word consequences because punishment seems to be a word that only tells the students to never comply, to do what is against the rules. So now they learn that they have a choice to follow or not to follow the rules, and they are always going to be held accountable for that. What about teaching and lesson planning? If we go to that, again, a very, very long time ago, all the teaching and lesson planning, or what we used to have, was focused on delivering the content in simple ways, making sure that the students get the information. It was all about treating the students as passive recipients of the knowledge that the teacher has to give them. But the reality now is that information is everywhere, and it's just a click of a button away. Every one of our students know well that they can go and Google all the kind of knowledge that they need. So, since this is a generation that is exposed to knowledge and that has a lot of access to knowledge, we need to value how they think. We need to make sure that we appreciate all this information that they bring into the classroom, and we respect this information and this knowledge. We talked already about actively engaging the students and how this is really important for their learning. But we also need to remember that now our role in the classroom is more than just giving them the information. It is extended now to being a supporter, a guide, a coach, who helps them discover and communicate and create. They already have the knowledge on the internet, so why not discover for themselves? Why not communicate together? Why not teach them how to be creators of knowledge? Where does the knowledge come from? How to obtain it in the best way, in the safest way? How to differentiate between good knowledge and fake or bad knowledge, which they are exposed again to a lot of. So it's no more them sitting there and listening. The new realities have changed. If you want new generations of people who are going to be creators of knowledge, who are very capable of communicating together and working together, finding out things for themselves, then we have to give them a lot of room to practice that inside our schools. Now, this is also a generation that wants to understand what is in it for me. We need to make sure that everything that we introduce in a classroom is connected to real life. These are students who always want to see, why is this learning important for me? How am I going to benefit from it in my life later on? What am I going to do with it? So if we don't connect learning to real life, it's not going to be meaningful to them. They need to see how everything they learn in the school, inside our classrooms, are going to help them become better citizens, become more successful, become capable to adapt with this new changing world. Since this is the time when we have a lot of students with different needs, and my colleague was talking a few minutes ago, Nora, about students with special needs and with learning difficulties, then we need to pay more attention as we do our lesson planning to differentiating learning. We cannot just prepare a lesson plan where one size fits all. This is not going to work. We need to think deeper of how to differentiate the content, the processes, the products, and even the learning environment to make sure that every one of our students gets what is suitable for them. Sometimes this is difficult, especially when we have bigger classrooms, but we are the teachers and we care about their education. We want them to learn the best in the best way. So that's how we should do it. We should exert more effort towards making sure that there is equity inside the classroom. Another thing is technology is here and it's not going anywhere. So if there is no turning back, we need to understand that technology is there to help us. It's not an enemy. Instead of just pushing it back and asking the students to stop using whatever kind of technology like mobile phones or tablets or whatever, why don't we make use of it in the best way possible after we verify the efficiency and the effectiveness of the tools that we're going to use? After making sure that we are choosing the best kinds of apps, the best websites that are safe for our students, why don't we make good use of that in our lessons, in our everyday practices and teaching and activities inside the classroom? We need to understand also that technology is not everything. So we have to be very careful. Sometimes teachers think, let us use technology. So every day, every minute, there is technology in the classroom. And like sometimes I see teachers who think without technology, we cannot work. It's not like that. We are aware that technology is there, that it is a fact, that it is part of the reality that we have, but it is a tool, just one tool. Because again, if we just overdo it, the students are not going to be very happy with it. Put yourself in their shoes. They have technology all the time. What are you offering me that is different? What is different is that we need to use technology in order to help them communicate and collaborate and bring this human touch in the classroom, even though we are using technology. Another point is that this is the world where everybody today is talking about sustainability. There is a lot of talk about the global goals of sustainable development, and we cannot just walk away from that and think that we have no responsibility. In fact, everything that we said in the beginning of this session about the importance of education makes sense here. Education is what's going to open the door for these goals to be achieved. If we want our students to live in peace in the future, if we want them to be global citizens, if we want them to achieve sustainability, if we want this planet to keep surviving, then we do have a big responsibility. We have to make sure that our teaching and our plans, our lessons are ready to introduce these ideas of sustainability. It's not only a topic that we talk about or just one lesson that we insert in a curriculum. It is a lot more than that. It should be practices that we carry out inside our schools. It should be habits that we instill. It should be role models that we set as teachers. So they should see us, these kind of role models who walk the talk. So, yeah, well, how are we going to achieve all of that if we don't start inside the school, if they don't see it inside the classroom? Now, what about assessment and evaluation? Now, when it comes to assessment and evaluation, I remember when I was a student, and again when I started teaching, it was all about summative assessment at the end of learning, where the students are given grades that are probably meaningless because they have already finished the unit or the year or the semester, and they just get the grades. Sometimes they feel proud, sometimes they get frustrated, they make their parents happy or upset, but it's a very stressful process that has a very little room for progress and improvement. Now, we again understand better. We know that assessment and evaluation should be tied to learning outcomes, and that we should only assess or test what we have taught. So our instructional activities and our assessments are all guided by the learning objectives. We start planning our lessons with learning objectives. Now, these have to be the guidelines for everything that we do inside the classroom and all the different kinds of assessments that we carry out. The new reality is that what we need now is assessment for learning rather than just assessment of learning. We need to give our students all the possible kind of feedback that is going to help them know what to do to improve, that is going to help measure their improvement, that is ongoing, and that is a look at the future, and where the teacher is a facilitator, a helper, who makes sure that the students are encouraged all the time, motivated all the time to do their best. We also need to move on towards assessment as learning, because this is the generation that we want. This is the kind of skills that we want them to have. We want them to be able to do peer assessment, self-assessment, to be very reflective thinkers, to think about the learning of Like, what am I doing now? Am I getting there? How am I doing it? How well am I achieving? Am I achieving? And why am I not if I'm not achieving? This is what's going to take them towards the skills that we talked about in the beginning. This is how they are going to become capable of self-reflection, of helping each other, giving each other a helping hand, being very critical. And this is what's going to give them a deeper look into their education. This is how they are going to grow. This is how they are going to become lifelong learners. This is how they are going to learn to collaborate together. Well, this is just a little like insight with a little bit of new thoughts for today. We as teachers really need to change the way we are looking at things. The world is changing, and that's the reality. It's how we are destined. Nothing is the same, nothing is going to stay the same. And if we are not going to think of how we change or how we cope with these kinds of realities, we are actually risking the world of tomorrow. We are risking all these important things that we said make education very valuable. So we need to stop thinking the old way. We need to stop doing the old things that we used to do, because that's going to take us nowhere. If we want a better future for our learners, a better future for this planet, I think it starts in our classrooms, and it starts with new ways of teaching our students. Well, thank you so much. I'm ready for questions, Paul.
Hi, Dr. Ghada. Thank you very much for this lovely session. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
Yeah, Kirsty is with you now. Yeah.
I am. Okay, I'm just, okay, Paul's doing his pressing of buttons. Okay, ta-da. Okay, look, it's working. Okay.
I can do buttons.
Very informative. Okay, especially because it's tying in a lot with what a lot of our other speakers today have been talking about, and especially with the technology. Okay, Dr. Fung, you know, with her apps. We had Rob Howard earlier, who was talking about AI and okay, other lots of technology. It feels now that in today's world, okay, that even though we are teachers, we also need to be experts in many other fields, like Paul's been saying, okay, throughout the day, that, you know, before we were like, we knew everything. Okay, teachers knew everything. Now we sort of guide people, okay, because with Google and social media and everything else, you are correct with the different types of news, fake news, real news.
Yeah,
it's okay, it's a minefield out there for teachers now.
Yeah,
okay?
It really is.
Yeah,
And
that's why we should never stop learning as teachers.
Yeah, it's I regularly get asked, students will ask me, it's like, can you recommend a book? And it's like, well, go to Google Scholar, because that can search the entire World Wide Web for all the books possible, and will highlight the ones that have your question in it. So it's, I could name you one, and in the time it's taken me to think of one, Google Scholar can list you about 1 million. So these algorithms are only getting better and better and better. I do actually have one question. I was just thinking about it, because teachers are I don't want to say guilty, but we can be. We can be guilty of sort of falling into like a rote pattern of, we have the same lesson plan, the same activities, the same approach. Is there any, what would you classify in terms of the modern era and all the stuff that we have available to us now? What is the one thing that you would rely on as your fallback sort of modern era technology thingy?
Very technical of you, Paul. Very
I
technical.
know, thingy just covers everything though. It's brilliant. But is there something that you would use in your classroom that you would just sort of reliably fall back on that sort of come from the modern era, if you will?
You mean technology-wise?
Yes.
Yeah.
Something in particular? No, I would always go for what do my students want? What are my students interested in? You know, well, what I always tell teachers is when you start the year, look at your students and talk to them a lot and understand what do they like. Like, for example, if I'm teaching young learners or teenagers, what kind of applications do they have on their mobile phones? What kinds of games do they play? What kind of songs do they listen to? What kind of social media are they very active on? And then I take from there the things that will help me inside my classroom. So I build upon that. I will always use examples from their world. I will always go to applications and tools that they already use, because I want them to feel that I don't come from a different world. Usually students in the classrooms of today think that, oh, this is the teacher, she comes from the dark ages.
Yeah, so we usually get
I
that one thrown at
I need
us.
to make sure that they feel I'm connected. I don't come from a different world that is completely separated from yours. I will take that from them and then build upon it.
Right. Okay. Cool.
Yeah. Okay, that's a good point. Finding common ground. I know that I have done in the past classes with younger students, and I've used Minecraft. Okay, Minecraft. Okay, that can save any class. Okay.
Yes, it really can. Oh,
Right.
we do have a question that's just popped up, if I may, do apologize. Do you think that schools should, hello. Oh, now.
This is a good one.
Do you think that schools should stop using the old programs and obsolete books and turn to the upgraded programs?
Well, programs should be all the time like changed and adapted. You can't just use the same book or curriculum for like 5 years. That would make it obsolete. Topics are going to be outdated. Students would probably be not interested in the same things. I mean, we're teachers of English, so a lot of things that we do, like vocabulary, grammar, and so on, have not changed. But what kinds of topics do we use to introduce the vocabulary, the grammar, and so on? That's what should change. Yeah, you're not going to change the language, but we should bear in mind that, again, the language is a living thing, and a lot of things are introduced in the language, and a lot of for example, vocabulary is getting introduced every year with the new technology, with the new things that are happening in the world around us. Like 20 years ago, nobody even talked about Instagram, mobile applications, mobile phones. 25 years ago were not a topic. So
no, absolutely.
COVID was not a word that existed.
Google, Google as a verb and a noun. Okay,
as a verb now, exactly. Yes.
Yeah, it's gone from being gone from a nonsense word to a noun, a verb, and everything else in between. It's slowly taking over the world. No, you're absolutely right. But I suppose the headache that schools have is money. Unfortunately, books are affordable and they can be put on a shelf and saved, whereas a smart board can break the bank. So I think, and I think we can we all know as teachers, we don't go into teaching because of the money. So unfortunately, let's face it, we all know that as teachers, we're all amazing people and we're all worth $1 million a year at least.
Yes.
Because we're all awesome. Let's face it, we are amazingly awesome people.
That's very true.
We are so worth $1 million. Unfortunately, we don't get $1 million. Nope. And the school, which is really, it's heartbreaking. Especially after I think we should start pushing, because of course, after the pandemic, all the parents around the world know how hard it is to school children. Yes. They only had their own.
Yes.
We have a class of 30 all day long, and we survive. So I think we're worth a pay increase. I think the problem is what we have to do is certainly we have to be. I think you're right about having to look at what's out there and
Yes.
see what we can do with what limited resources schools have. But I think the
Teachers are already very good at that, Paul.
Yes,
They
we
know.
are.
Oh, we are. We're all very creative. Okay, you
Yeah.
can. It's amazing what you can come up with.
Yep.
Okay.
Especially
We
considering
just-
kids can come in with phones on their own, which is kind of half the job. We may as well make use of them. They bring these bits of technology in, we'll use them.
But we
So
can't deny that we have a huge responsibility on like that. We are the ones who are responsible of creating generations who are going to keep this world going on or not. So I think it's worth the effort.
yeah, no, you're absolutely right. We are. I mean, I think people kind of view teachers as kind of sort of basically babysitters. They drop them off at the door and then pick them up after school, and it's like, are you alive? Yes. Right, the school's done its job.
That's
It's
good.
like, hang on a minute, they've spent all day learning with us how to look after you when you're
Yes.
retired and going bonkers.
Yeah.
So they're going to be working and looking after all of us when we're old and crazy. So
Yes.
I think we deserve a bit more respect from people. And unfortunately, we're going to have to find a way to go to the governments of the world and say, would you mind spending less money on bullets and more on books? Because we kind of need them, because people have to be smart, especially with the modern world with technology and stuff as it's coming in.
Yeah. A lot of people are agreeing with us in the chat box, by the way, that we are totally worth a lot more money. Okay.
Weird, that, isn't it?
Yeah. And Gerhard Youssef has said, thank you very much. Okay, Dr. Ghada. Really, this was perfect and informative.
I
Okay.
know.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you
I
for
would
having me
completely
today.
agree. It's been a very, very interesting presentation. So thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
Right. Unfortunately, as much as, again, we could sort of spend hours.
We can keep
talking
going.
about
Okay,
this
we
one.
can keep going. Okay,
Really
but we'll be
could.
getting
We'll be getting angry looks.
we're getting angry looks. Okay, because we're not sort of following along to our time limits.
So
Okay,
we do have a schedule, I promise.
we do. Okay.
We've got bits of paper everywhere. Right. Anyway, thank you so much indeed. Very, very interesting. Like I said, if anybody comes up with any questions throughout the rest of the day, then we'll make a note of them and we'll pass them on if they are relatable to you. But again, thank you very much indeed for your presentation. But I'm afraid that we do have to keep moving on.